The Monday, July 22nd, 2024 regular meeting of the Paris City Council is hereby called to order at 5:30 p.m. For the purpose of this meeting, there is a quorum of the council present. Item number 2, invocation. Mr. Gene Anderson will deliver the invocation, and then followed by that, we will go ahead and have the United States Pledge of Allegiance and the Texas Pledge of Allegiance that will be led by Mayor Pro Tem Savage. Please rise.
Pray. Heavenly Father, we're thankful as always for all that you do for us, for your divine intervention, for your protection. Father, we know that there's much evil in the world, and we appreciate, Father, all that you do to keep us safe. We pray for our council tonight as they conduct the city's business. Should you guide and direct them and give them godly wisdom as they make their decisions. We pray for our nation that you'd strengthen us and might we get closer and closer to you. For we do ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Agenda item number 4, recognize Reginald B. Hughes for his service to the city of Paris. Council, do you guys mind joining me down here? And Reginald, if you'll step up, please. So Reginald, I'm going to use this mic here, and I'm going to read you this proclamation that has been put forth here. You have done so much for our community, and I just want to tell you, as a friend and also a colleague that served with you, we really appreciate you. So here's a special proclamation that's been put together. Whereas voters in the City Council Member District 2 of the City of Paris elected Reginald B. Hughes to represent them as council member for District 2 in November 2020 and re-elected in May of 2022. And whereas Reginald B. Hughes was elected by the City Council to serve as Mayor Pro Tem in May 2021 and again in May of 2022. And whereas Reginald B. Hughes was elected by his peers on the City Council as Mayor of the City of Paris in May of 2023. And whereas Reginald B. Hughes is no stranger to public service, as evidenced by his United States Navy service from July 1986 until his retirement in October 2016, having achieved the rank of Chief Warrant Officer 3 during his 30 years and 2 months of honorable service to our nation. Thank you for that, by the way. Whereas Reginald B. Hughes was called upon to lead the Boys and Girls Club of the Red River Valley as Chief Executive Officer in 2023. And whereas Reginald B. Hughes served with honor and integrity as council member, Mayor Pro Tem, and Mayor of the City of Paris until his resignation in May 2024. Whereas Reginald B. Hughes stands today as an example of Paris's best and most dedicated elected officials serving our residents. I, Mihir Pankaj, Mayor, and on behalf of the Paris City Council, do hereby honor and recognize Reginald B. Hughes for his dedicated and distinguished services to the City of Paris. In testimony whereof, I hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of the City of Paris, Texas, to be affixed this 22nd day of July 2024. Thank you so much, Reginald. We appreciate you. Let's get this council here. All right. Agenda item number 4B, Citizens Forum. Persons desiring to address the City Council must limit their presentation to no more than 2 minutes. Unless an item is posted on the agenda, the Texas Open Meetings Act prohibits the council from responding to any comments other than to them to refer the matter to a future agenda, to an existing policy, or to a staff person with specific factual information. Claims against the city, council members, or employees, as well as an individual personal appeals, are not appropriate for Citizens Forum. If necessary, the City Council may convene into executive session under Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code regarding any item on this agenda. The public forum is now open. If there's anyone who wishes to address the council, please come forward and state your name and address for the record.
Honorable Mayor, members of City Council, my name is Larry Shank. I live at 3765 Don Drive in Paris. I've spoken to you previously about the narrow window afforded by the legislature to resume COLA payments for retirees of the city. Finance Director Gene Anderson will make a presentation to you later in this evening that will reflect what that expense will be. He also rightfully points out that in doing so, the implementation will have positive effects in the form of what are called updated service credits. I've left something from TMRS at your table to perhaps discuss that, but it is a positive thing for current employees as well as retirees. I have 7 issues for your consideration. It's been 16 years since the city has awarded a USC and a COLA for retirees, one of the few cities in the state who have failed to do so for that length of time. At the time, the change was characterized as temporary. As a result, over that 16-year hiatus, the city budget has been plus by perhaps as much as $5 to $8 million. The opportunity to implement the COLA is at a much reduced cost is short-lived, ending next year. At the last council meeting, several of our members, retirees, showed you, I think, that it was not only good for retirees and for future retirees, but also good for retention and drawing new employees. The cost of living during that period of time has arisen for all the necessities of life, perhaps as much as double. Doing so is only fair. Again, thank you for placing this on the agenda for consideration. I ask only that the council consider asking Mr. Anderson to split his total number apart to show the amount for the USC and the amount for the COLA. I think it would be definitive for both groups. And I would ask the retirees who are here this evening to please stand. I think some may speak to you at a later time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Carolyn Williams. I reside here in Paris on 44th Street. I would like to thank all of y'all that came out to the court hearing that I had on the violating the high grass. I appreciate your support, but the court was more than what I ever had participated to be, but you live and you learn, and I thank y'all for coming out and giving you support. Thank you.
Mayor and council member, I am Glee Emmett. I live at 3065 Aspen Drive in Paris, Texas. I have currently a member of because of your appointment, Main Street Advisory Board. I'm requesting you consider me to also I have another application in. I'd like to be the liaison from the Historic Preservation Commission to the Main Street Board. Thank you very much.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and members of the council. I'm Pam Norwood. I live at 1020 Moore Street in Blossom, Texas, and I'm here tonight just to talk to you about 2 reasons that I would love to serve on the TERS board. Number 1, this is my home. I've lived here all my life. My career took me away for a couple of years, more than that, but I'm back now. I own a business downtown, and I just feel like I'm at a point in my life where it is my turn to give back to the city that has given so much to my family, so many good memories, and I would like to be able to do that. Secondly, I think that I bring some experience that would make me make a contribution to the board. I'm a retired school superintendent. I was in public education for almost 30 years, so I'm very familiar with how boards work, sitting on boards. I was part of an advisory board that sat with Commissioner Mike Morath for several years, all the way down to just local. So I've served at the local level, our regional level, and then at our state level, and enjoyed every bit of it. As a school administrator, I have been working with setting tax rates, estimating tax revenue, and then, of course, how you spend that. I'm familiar with administering state and public funds. That's not easy to say, federal funds. And so I would just like the opportunity mainly to give back. I'm familiar with a lot of the things that we do, and I'm familiar with how important it is to be a good steward of our taxpayers' money, first and foremost. A mentor of mine told me one time that I should always look for the win-win, and that is something I took with me. And I believe when we do that, nobody has to lose, and when we can find the win-win in a situation, that allows us all to move forward just a little bit. And that's really what we want to do. So I appreciate your time and your consideration. Thanks.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, my name is Pamela Lewis, and I live on 138 West Provine Street. And I was here from a water bill because last year they had fixed it where it went down. So when I went back over there to get it, to pay my other water bill, they took it back up. So when I went, she told me that I must have been on vacation because I hadn't had a high water bill. And I told her, I said, no, the guy at City Council was working with it on me, and I didn't have to pay nothing. So she said, well, you're going to have to just go back over there, and he's going to have to go back and redo it because they took it back up. And another thing, the waterman comes by my house, and he checks all the houses on this side, but they don't even look at my side. They don't check my water bill or nothing. And like I told them, I said, well, can y'all put me a new water line, a new water thing? And she was like, we already did. And I said, no, anybody been out and put me a new water thing. So that's the problem I'm having because my water bill is like $28, but they got my sewer $90. And like I said, last month I paid it, and they don't even look and check my water line. I mean, they just send me the same bill every time. So that's the reason why I'm up here. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I am Tommy Haynes, 3095 Abbott here in Paris. I'm a retiree of the city of Paris for 20 years, and I just want to thank you for putting item number 11, the agenda item regarding COLA for the retirees. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kelsey Turk. I live at 2745 Simpson Street. I'm a designer here in Paris, and I've worked for a number of architects over 17 years. I asked for your consideration for appointment to Historic Preservation Commission. I worked with design teams for a number of historic buildings in town, including working with the Texas Historic Commission, the standards or Secretary of Interior standards, and the NPS standards. I feel like I'm at a kind of point in my age where I'm ready to kind of get back to the community, and I think Texas Historic Commission is a great place for me to be at. And you know, I worked with Paul and David Denny of Denny Architects, and I remember at age 19 we went to the Agape House off Washington Street, which really old building, and I remember that was probably the first time where I went into a historic building and found a doctor's note from the early 1950s. I've been in a couple other buildings. I've actually was responsible for the second floor east wing. Went and measured and drew up the existing conditions, and I still remember seeing where the locker rooms would have been for the firemen as they came and slid down the poles. So I request your consideration, and thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Okay, the citizens forum is now closed. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Does any member wish to remove an item from the agenda for discussion? If not, is there a motion to approve all items on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0. Agenda item number 11, receive presentation about a COLA for City of Paris retirees. Staff, do you have a presentation?
Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and council members, let me just kind of review where we're at in terms of a COLA for retirees and an updated service credit for current employees. To give you some background on it, in 2004, the City Council adopted Ordinance 2004-051. And what that ordinance did, it repealed the automatic granting of retiree COLAs and updated service credits for employees. They later passed another ordinance that same year that said that they will grant updated service credits and retiree COLAs on a one year at a time basis. That is, they would have to vote each year whether or not to include it or grant that. Like I say, they stopped the automatic in 2004, which would have been effective for 2005. But retiree COLAs and updated service credits were granted for 2005, 2006, 2007, and 2008. Since that time, no retiree COLA or updated service credit has been granted. Of course, in recent years, as you know, retirees have approached the council about restoring that benefit. So where we're at, or what it would take if the council decides that's something it wants to do, in order to make a change in the TMRS plan, that can only be done effective January 1st of any calendar year. What the council would do would be pass an ordinance authorizing or granting whatever increased benefit that they wanted to grant, because there are different percentages that can be used for those two benefits. And then that ordinance would be forwarded to TMRS prior to January 1st of the year that was coming up. The state law that governs TMRS states that a COLA for retirees cannot be granted without granting an updated service credit for current employees. It does not make the same requirement in reverse. You could actually give an updated service credit without granting a retiree COLA. It comes down, and has in the past, comes down to money on what it would cost to do that. If we compare the current city contribution percentage, 5.74 for the upcoming year, to the percentage that it would take to grant the least expensive COLA and the least expensive updated service credit, that rate would jump to 11.51%. When you apply that increase of 5.77% to the city payroll, which is a little over $20 million, you come up with $1,162,922. To address Mr. Shank's last comment, the breakdown between COLA and updated service credit, the COLA for retirees would cost $550,222, and the updated service credit would be $612,700 of that $1.1 million cost. So that's kind of the background, where we're at and what we would have to do, and I'll be glad to answer any questions that you might have regarding that.
Council, does anyone have any questions at this moment? Mr. Anderson, I have a quick question. In regards to that number, we have to meet that every year to sustain that, correct?
Right. We would have to, if we want to grant it on a repeating basis, we'd have to come up with a reoccurring revenue, because that's going to be a reoccurring expense, as you said. You'd either have to raise it all in reoccurring revenue, or you could cut some expenses, and a combination of reduced expenses and increased revenue, would get you to the same place.
What happens if you do not reach that number? Let's just say you are, 100,000 off. You just don't get that COLA out? Is that how that works? Or?
Well, if you'd have to pass an ordinance granting it, effective January the 1st. And if we were within $100,000 of reaching the goal, we would trim something somewhere to provide that. The budget, our general fund budget's like $31 million, and the water and sewer budget, not including debts, about $12 million. We could find $100,000. The split between general fund and water and sewer fund is about 75-25. General fund has about 75% of that cost, and the water and sewer fund about 25, just because of the number of employees that are paid for out of the different funds.
Gotcha.
I have a question.
What was the, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was
Go
just, on the history of 2004, when the automatic increases stopped, do you know what in that budget, why that happened?
Best I recall, and I was here in 2004, that it was just a budget cutting possibility. And they wanted to not just make it automatic, they wanted it to be closely examined each year. And the council continued to grant it for 2005, 6, 7, and 8. For the next 4 years, they went ahead and granted both of those. And I'm sure, again, it was a budget cutting matter when it came to 2008.
Okay, thank you.
So what was that number again that we would need to get to even do this in 2025? 1 million and what?
It's I believe it's
1,162,922.
Yeah, and so in your opinion, how difficult would that be to trim somewhere else to get to that number? Because we would have to do that, and then we would have to make it permanent because it would have to be every year, right?
Yes, you'd have to cover it every year. Yeah, I think it would be very difficult to do. If you looked on the revenue side, our property tax is about 25% of our total budget in the general fund. We can only go up 3.5% under Senate Bill 2. That's the most we can possibly go up in a year. I was looking at that this past week, and 3.5%, based on the current property tax level, would be $281,000 a year, would be the most we could do if we decided to take that 3.5% increase. As y'all probably know, for the last few years, we haven't raised property taxes. They've been constant at $8,030,000, and we did that on purpose because we were making such adjustments on the water and sewer side that we didn't want to add burden to the same people, basically, by raising property taxes as well.
Yeah, so it wouldn't be, we couldn't get to this figure just by cutting things. We would have to make raises on property tax and different things on the citizens.
I'm not sure I could find $1 million without reducing services significantly, because that's a lot of money. A lot of money.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Agenda item number 12, receive presentation from Strategic Government Resources in Baker Tilly regarding the available services for a city manager search. Staff, do you have a presentation?
Yes, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Council. During a special meeting at the July 2nd meeting, Council requested that we reach out to 2 executive firms, Strategic Government Resources and Baker Tilly, to have them present and bring a presentation regarding their services. We have with us tonight, I've already talked to Mr. Ron Holyfield, Chief Executive Officer with Strategic Government Resources. I have not made contact with anyone from Baker Tilly yet, but however, they did send a proposal, which was emailed to you today. They very may well be here in the audience, but I have not seen them yet. So at this point, I would ask Mr. Ron Holyfield to step up and with his presentation, please.
Mayor and Council, I appreciate the opportunity to be here, and I've got to tell you, and I swear to you, I'm not making it up. This is absolute truth. I have gotten goosebumps over there watching the council meeting tonight. We are in such a dysfunctional age, and I know I'm just seeing a little snippet, but the sense of community, the engagement you've had, this is the way it's supposed to work. And there is nothing more profound you can do for bringing in a great city manager than be a council that knows how to work the way it's supposed to work. Both the consideration of your employees in evaluating it, as well as the hard questions you're answering, you're doing a great job. And so I apologize, that doesn't have anything to do with the presentation, but literally it gave me goosebumps. I spent about 20 years as a city manager. I work with city councils all over the United States, and the best advertising you could do in the search is show a snippet of this council meeting, because it is so rare to actually have that. I'll also say it is cool for me getting to come here and visit with you this evening. Not too far down the road at Lake Davy Crockett is where I caught my very first fish. I still have a vision of him flopping on the dock with my dad shouting at me, "Grab it, grab it." And then my mother grew up in Bogota, or actually grew up in Johntown. Bogota, they were a suburb of Bogota, if you don't know where Johntown is. And I still have memories as a kid of when we were going to go to the big city on a Saturday when I went and stayed with my grandmother. It was coming to Paris. And I grew up in Plano, but Paris in those days were comparable size, if not bigger, than Plano. And so there's a lot of warmth getting to come back and be here and that sort of thing. As you get ready to look at doing a city manager search and engaging with a search firm, I don't want to repeat the stuff that's in the proposal, but what I want to really help you understand is that the role of a search firm, first and foremost, is to tell your story. What you're really, all of the processes with the different firms are 85% the same, maybe 90%. The mechanics don't vary very much. What varies is the ability of a firm to actually tell your story. The role of a search firm is to be selling Paris to candidates, is to be persuading candidates that otherwise may not be aware of the opportunity that exists here and the good things, and if they're not aware of it, they just tend to not engage. So what you're really wanting more than anything else is a search firm that can help you tell your story. The second thing, though, you want is one that will ask you the hard questions. Because while literally you gave me goosebumps this evening, I know that that's not the way it is all the time, and there's challenges and things that you have to wrestle with. And so part of what you want, because the candidates want it, is a search firm that you know that they know has asked all the hard questions. So they really know where your heart is. They really understand the dynamics of council, because that dynamics of how you get along as a council is going to have a profound impact on the quality of life of the city manager you hire. I did a city council retreat, was not in Texas, and another very high-profile city just a couple of weeks ago. And literally, they had two council members, when a citizen came up to speak on an issue, and the council members spun their chair around to face the wall from behind as a way of overtly showing disrespect to the speaker. So the dynamics that are out there, city managers right now, great city managers, are hungry for great city councils. And so the opportunity to work with a city council that really cares about the community is a story worth telling, and it's a story that's compelling for candidates. The next thing that I want to kind of draw your attention to, the next real big job of a recruiter is to do background. And background actually has a variety of different aspects. One of them is personal knowledge of the network, not just personal knowledge of the individual candidate, but people who know the candidates. And so what happens is we've got such a network with city managers all around the U.S. is that we're able to pick up the phone and call a city manager in a neighboring city and say, give me off the record the scoop on this situation. In fact, I had a city manager at one point, we were doing a city manager search, and I had a city manager who had been the mentor to this young city manager. And he was in a more rural area and was headed to the DFW area where there was going to be a lot more media scrutiny. And that fellow city manager called and said, Ron, he's not ready to come to the Metroplex. He's having an affair with an employee, and that is going to become a horrible mess, and it's going to hurt him. He cared about this young manager, cared about him enough to say, Ron, this is going to be a mess if you're not careful. And literally my approach is I got in the car, I called the candidate, I got in the car and drove about 200 miles and sat down over dinner with him, and I said, I need to know what the story is on this. And he owned up to it. I didn't tell him who had told me, but that personal network and that personal knowledge causes things to be revealed that doesn't happen if you don't have those. The second thing is media searches, and we do incredibly comprehensive media searches. We do a two-part. Part one is with LexisNexis, which is automated. It's what the law firms use. The limitation of LexisNexis is it only picks up major publications. So it misses small-town newspapers. It's highly unlikely that the Paris paper is picked up with LexisNexis. So we use it as sort of an early high-level warning. But the second is that we literally have specialists who will spend on your finalist group up to about 8 hours per candidate combing the internet and going in and trying to find out what is the history, checking local blogs, checking newspaper stories, etc. And you just find amazing things with checking social media, etc. It is stunning to me in this age that what you find some executives have on social media. But that's really, really important with the background check. The other thing is obviously the traditional reference checks. And again, the fact that we've got the relationships gets more honesty than if it's somebody that you don't have that relationship. And then we'll help you design the process on site. Some of the things we do, for example, we actually train all of our team members so that every interaction we're having with candidates through a process is really a stealth interview. So that if a candidate is rude to one of our admins, they're going to be rude to your staff or they're going to be rude to your citizens. And when they know they're being looked at or they're interacting with me, they're not going to treat me that way, but they will in admin sometimes. So we're constantly looking for that. We also will help you design the process, and it's different in every city depending on your preferences, but to what extent you engage any of the top city staff in interviews, any citizen committees, do a meet and greet, all of those sorts of things will help you lay that out both with your comfort zone and provide you advice and recommendations on what we think will give you more insights into the whole thing. So that just gives you a very high-level snippet. As I said, I don't want to spend your time simply repeating what's in the proposal, but I wanted to hit those high points, and then I would love to answer any questions you may have. I would much rather devote my time to the stuff where your focus may be than you hearing me just guess where it may be.
What is the average tenure of a city manager? Probably in our size market, I would say.
It used to be pretty consistently about 4.5 to 5 years. It has really gotten all over the map now for 2 or 3 different reasons. One is that in today's political environment, councils increasingly are coming on board that have not climbed the civic ladder, don't understand city government, and they view the city manager as a political appointee rather than a politically appointed professional. So in that environment, you see more rapid turnover. It tends to be in a given city, you'll see the churn take place. The other thing that is happening, that honestly it's in a crisis in the profession, is that because the politics have gotten so brutal, a lot of people who are the number twos, the ACMs, DCMs, don't want to be city manager. So it is harder to get them to actually engage. And when they engage, we see an increasing number of them who are in 2, 3, 4 years and throw in the towel and say, I don't want to ever be a city manager again. It's a real challenge. That's one of the reasons that honestly it excites me with what I've seen out of y'all this evening in this little snippet, because it's the kind of thing that we see. One of the things about the relationships is that there are managers in some much bigger, more complex cities that normally it would never make sense from a career standpoint, but they're so hungry to get to work with good people that they will consider other types of moves. They'll particularly if they're fairly late in their career. And they find it far more satisfying and professionally satisfying to be able to do what they love doing, and that is to help a city be its best.
I have a quick question. One, it's good to finally meet you in person. I know we've had a couple conversations over the phone, and I appreciate you coming out. Big question I have is in regards to, starting this process and then to the end. Is there a certain cutoff point that you guys customarily use, or is there a certain cutoff point that we can request? For example, hey, you bring that candidate to us. Does it go up to the contract only for the signature, or does it last even afterwards? Because, I understand we don't get warranty process on human beings, but it would be nice to have that on a job when spending this much money from taxpayer dollar.
Great question, Mayor. We actually do give you a 12-month guarantee. So and it doesn't matter why they left if they don't last the 12 months. We'll redo it over for nothing except out-of-pocket expenses. We help you. It's one of the reasons with the really rigorous process we go through is to ensure that it really is a great match. Too many folks view hiring executives as a resume process, and the resume is just the beginning point. You want somebody qualified, but the real question is who's going to connect with you? Who's going to blend with you and with the community? Because the reality is this role is not one that everything is, unicorns and rainbows. You deal with hard issues, not just as a council, but out in the community. So you want somebody who really becomes a part of the community. And so that's one of the reasons we spend so much energy on the front end, is to try and make sure everybody knows what they're getting. And that is different. What you're going to want and need is different than what another city wants and needs. And so it's really about trying to figure that match out. And we'll spend time at the very beginning of the process doing one-on-one interviews, trying to really understand what your desires and priorities and things of that are. Some councils are really looking for a visionary manager. Some councils are really looking for a manager that is entirely behind the scenes. Neither one is right or wrong. It's a matter of figuring out what the council really wants and then ensuring that we get the right match.
Thank you.
So just a quick question. I don't know what the average number of applicants for a city this size, but just say 50. Let's use the 50 number. Because I heard you say if you wanted to incorporate staff committees or citizen committees and things like that. So during the culling process, would you say cull it down to 25 and then you would bring in the processes that we've established, the committees that we've established, or how does that work?
Yes, no, and maybe. We actually have a process that is designed to achieve and protect and ensure unity among the council every step of the way. So what we do, and we really believe that it's our job to equip you to make good decisions. It's your job to make the decisions. So the way that works in practical terms is once we've done all the interviews, we've developed the marketing brochure, the opportunity description, we've got it out there, and we've got a pool of, let's say, 50 candidates. What we'll do is we'll go through and we'll triage those into a tier 1, 2, and 3. Tier 3 are folks that just aren't qualified. Tier 2 are folks that are well qualified but may not be a good match for various reasons. Most commonly is size and complexity of experience. So somebody from Bogota may not actually be ready to run this level of complexity, so to speak. Then, and tier 2s are usually the folks you go to if you don't have enough tier 1s. And then tier 1s are the ones that both are well qualified and appear to be a good match with the community and the council. And then what we do is we meet with you in executive session. We've got them triaged. The average meeting, the council will move 1 or 2 of the tier Bs to tier 1 and 1 or 2 of the tier 1s to tier 2. Those are almost always a product of personal interaction. You've served on a committee with somebody at the Council of Governments, or whatever it happens to be. You have one of you has a personal interaction that either you've been impressed or not impressed with somebody. So it's your decision, but we'll start with them all triage. We'll come out of that meeting typically with 10 to 12 semifinalists. The semifinalists is, at that first stage, everything is really about resume and personal knowledge. The second step, when we narrow it to the 10 to 12, that's when we do the stage 1 media search. We'll do a comprehensive questionnaire of them, and then we'll take and we'll package all, and we'll also do a online recorded interview. We'll package all of that up. That's the first time you'll get a packet of information on the candidates, because quite honestly, we don't want to be forwarding, we don't want in circulation resumes on people who are not ever going to seriously get considered. We try to protect them from being damaged with folks knowing they're out looking if they're not really a contender. Then those 10 to 12, what you'll do, you'll have all of their information. We ask you to do a triage ranking on them, just like we did on the first group. And it's simply 1, 2, 3. 1 is, I'm really interested in interviewing this person. 2 is, I could go either way depending on the whole team. And 3 is, I'm not interested. And literally what we do is we put chart paper up, we write the council names across the top, all in executive session, the candidate names down the side or vice versa. And we go around and everybody reports in, one candidate at a time, what was your score, 1, 2, or 3? And then we just simply, you can see it there, it's in a matrix, we add them up. And what happens every single time is about 1/3 of the candidates, everybody's agreed as a 3. About 1/3 of the candidates, everybody or virtually everybody's agreed as a 1. and about a third of the candidates is a mixed bag. So the conversation then is about a mixed bag, where Councilmember Moore has given this one a 3 and Councilmember Putnam has given them a 1. We facilitate the conversation that says, okay, what did you see that made you uncomfortable? And sometimes it will be something that Councilmember Moore says, I saw this, and everybody else goes, ooh, I missed that, you're right. Or sometimes it'll be, she saw this, and then Councilmember Harris will, Councilman, sorry about that.
Future.
The attorneys always have a lot of influence. Councilmember or Mayor Pro Tem Savage weighs in and goes, oh, wait a minute, you misinterpreted that. Here's how I saw it. And then there's simply discussion, deliberation. We come out of that meeting with the short list of typically 4 to 6 finalists. Our recommendation to you is that if you have at any stage, if you have one council member who is passionate about moving a candidate to the next stage, you move them, because it's what helps to preserve the unity, so that every council, and what happens every single time, the council member knows they got listened to, but even the council member, if everybody else was not impressed with that candidate, at the next stage, every single time the outlier council member goes, I see what y'all were saying now. It just always happens. And so it helps to build and maintain and protect unity on the part of the council taking that approach. So that's kind of so we work very hard that it's your decision at every step, but it's our homework. We're doing all the work to give you so you can make good decisions.
Yeah, I like it, and the way you just broke the process down, I think you clarified a lot of things probably for all of us. I appreciate that.
Timelines can vary, but tell us what we should expect start to finish.
What you should not expect?
No, what we should expect.
Should expect start to finish. So Larry Gilly, who's former city manager in Abilene and San Marcos, will actually be your recruiter. About the time you're launching this, I'm actually going to be on a road trip around the U.S. for about 3 months. But what you will expect is that, number one, him sitting down with each of you and doing a one-on-one. It's really important. I'll always say when I'm the one doing the search, I'm going to become your best, closest, most intimate friend for about 90 days because what we want you to do is share your fears, your hopes, your aspirations for the community, for this person, what are they going to help happen, etc. Then what you can expect is to get the profile description, the marketing brochure back. We won't go out till you've approved that. And then once you've and the thing to remember on that, it is not a job description. It is a marketing brochure. It is designed to catch the attention of candidates, not to give them every conceivable piece of information. And then what you would expect from there is honestly pretty much radio silence for a couple of months, because while we're out marketing it, we're available for questions, we're available for your inquiries, but we're spending all of our time interacting with prospects and candidates. And so it's not until we close it that we come, which typically is about 60, it's been on the street about 60 days. When we close it is when we come back to you. Now, even we've got an escalation process internally if we're not getting the number or quality of candidates, how we reach out more broadly, the social media efforts we do, the email blasts we do, there's a whole series of things we have that are escalations internally. And then from there, that's when that process I mentioned just a minute ago kicks in.
Do you work with any of the contract negotiations at the end, or no? That's just...
Do we help you with the contract? Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, we will help you, and in fact, we really like to help you, because by having us as a middleman, nothing becomes personal. You know, if you're in executive session amongst yourselves, and Rudy goes, "That's nuts," it's a whole different dynamic than if the candidate is sitting there and Rudy goes, "That's nuts." Or vice versa, if the candidate goes, "That's nuts." So we really like being sort of that buffer of letting each of you wrestle through, being an honest broker, so to speak, so that we're looking for, we may know that what Rudy thinks is nuts about it is this big of a deal, and with just this much tweaking, we can satisfy that. But if you don't really manage that carefully, the wheels can come off. And typically, we've gone so far, depending on specific situations. In one incident, and this was a very rural community, we had a candidate whose wife was a nurse. And they were very worried about her being able to find a job. And so the mayor actually reached out to the hospital administrator and arranged a tour of the hospital. No pressuring and all of that, but just made it easy. So we'll pay attention to those things. We'll pay a lot of attention to the fact that it is a family decision that is driving the move. So spouse employment matters. Schools can matter, depending on where they are. We've had one that it happened to be in Northeast Texas where they landed. He was in a much bigger city in Florida, but his father was in a nursing home in Northeast Texas, and he was only willing to look in like a 100-mile radius so that he could be close to that. So paying attention, those personal drivers are far more important than people realize lots of times. And so we'll pay close attention to all of that, and that can affect dynamics with actually working the contract out as well. One of the things we will do is through your city attorney, we'll recommend that well in advance that you pull down the TCMA model city manager contract so that you're kind of familiar, because that will tell you what the candidate will have seen. Doesn't mean you're going to agree to everything in it, but at least you're talking a common language when it gets to that point. Most of the time, contract negotiation is actually relatively easy because there is that baseline, but both sides know what the other side's looking at. And the reality is, as cool as I think Paris is, nobody's going to make a backwards move to come here just because you're awesome. So you got to kind of be prepared for that. The more stable you are, which you have been, the more flexible they are in coming somewhere.
How typical is it for a finalist to come with his or her own contract?
It's common, but not their contract. It's common for them to come with the TCMA or the ICMA model contract.
But not with their own contract?
Not with their own,
okay.
Yeah. So what will happen, they may have, so the ICMA model agreement, which the TCMA agreement was modeled after, kind of has a menu of some things. So what you'll find is there will be standard language that says there is a housing transition cost. So if somebody's moving here from Georgia, there's going to be 6 months or whatever that they're going to end up with double housing payments. That's common to pay. The language in the contract doesn't specify what that is. It's all over the map what the deal looks like. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So it's really a menu of options. You'll have the manager going, here's what, and part of what we'll be doing is in our conversations with you and them is knowing what are killer provisions, so that if there's something that we know is absolutely non-negotiable by you, they're going to know it. If we know there's something absolutely non-negotiable by them, you're going to know it, so that you can factor that in and thinking about any of the candidates.
Thank you.
I've got another question in regards to, obviously you've served as a city manager, which is fantastic. So this is a perfect question for you. If you had to build your ideal city manager, what are some of the certifications and qualifications, anything that you'd think in terms of degrees or anything like that you would recommend for us as a council to be able to look at in terms of experience or anything based off of our size of our community? Anything that you would think you would want to impart on us?
There's not any certifications, and there's a lot of them out there. There's not any certifications that I think there's some that they're nice. I don't think there's any that I would use as a way of trimming the field down. Maybe that's the best way to put it. However, what I do think is there is a degree of literacy that you're going to want in some functional areas. One of them is economic development. A city manager that understands economic development is not something that happens unrelated to development services department. Those are direct. What policies you adopt affects economic development. So you want a city manager that is literate enough to understand how those pieces come together. Same thing with law enforcement, same thing with finance. You're not trying to hire a finance director, you're not trying to hire an accountant, but you want somebody that is literate enough in budgeting and finance that they can do an executive's job at that level. So to me, budget finance, probably law enforcement and economic development, and I'm including development services in that, are probably your big three that I would be looking for literacy in. Then the sub-level of that is, and this really is not in the context of certifications as much goals and vision, things of that sort. I got here early and spent time just driving around town. Had been a while since I'd been in Paris, and so wanted to just get a feel for the community. And with that old city manager / economic developer mentality, I see tons of opportunity, but I also see tons of unexploited opportunity. So I would, if you look at it and you go, vibrant downtown is a priority for us, then you want to be able to make sure you've got literacy, you've got somebody with some track record experience that's able to understand what drives a successful, vibrant downtown, which is different than highway strip retail. And both, it's not that one is good, one is bad, it's just that they're different. And so what we'll walk you through is trying to understand some of your goals and priorities. If you've adopted strategic plan or strategic goals, we're going to incorporate that into the brochure so candidates know what are those things you particularly look for. Now, that said, I'm going to answer your question in the opposite of what you asked. The things you need to not look for, and that is whatever the current burning platform is. One of the tendencies of council is to swing the pendulum too far for wherever it hurts right this minute. And so what happens is you tend to go say, we've got real problems with our water mains, so we want somebody with experience in water mains. That's not the job of a city manager. The job of a city manager is to make sure the system is operating. You want it fixed, but not because the city manager is an expert in water mains. Does that make sense? So it's this weird balancing act that you absolutely want somebody that understands your vision and your priorities and has the background to help you achieve those, but you don't want to let the pendulum swing over to just where it hurts right now, because if you become too obsessed with one sub issue, you won't accomplish your big goals and vision.
Thank you.
My last question is, if somebody wants to apply and who's already a resident here, would they work through you or outside?
Yeah, we strongly recommend, whether it's somebody in the community or somebody on staff, they go through the exact same process. So there is no distinction whatsoever. We think that is critical so that you're really getting an apples to apples comparison, because the reality is that when one of your challenges, if you have a applicant who is internal or is in the community, the tendency can be either the halo or horns extreme. And the reality is what you want to do is start fresh to actually take an objective look at them and go, okay, my job is to get the very best city manager, and how do they stack up with those other candidates? And so we make them go, even to the point of doing, one of the steps we do is online recorded interviews. Then they're automated questions. We make them do that because we want you to see, we want everything just as consistent, even Stephen as can be, because we think it equips you better to make objective decisions.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Well, Mr. Holyfield, we really appreciate you coming down, and thank you so much for answering a lot of our questions. And you'll supply Interim City Manager Rob Vine the proposal, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
Absolutely.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank y'all so much, and before I drive home, I'm going to go drop a little sales tax money at somewhere to eat locally.
That's what we like
Y'all
to hear.
have a great rest of your meeting. Don't let me down after the strong start.
Thank you. Agenda item number 13, discuss, conduct a public hearing and act on an ordinance approving and adopting amendments to the comprehensive plan and future land use map for the city of Paris for medium-density residential to high-density residential for part of Tract 28A 208E East Crow Survey, located in the 4300 block of Pine Mill Road.
Yeah.
Staff, do you have a presentation?
Yeah, good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. So this is an application by an applicant. He wants to put up duplexes for multi-family home, probably townhomes on a 6.3 acres. And currently, his application has to do with changing the zoning, and changing the zoning also affects the future land use map. And so that's what is before you today, changing it from the medium density to high density. Last week, the city Planning and Zoning Commission met on this case and recommended approval, and it was 5-0. So that's what's before you today. Thank you.
Perfect. I will now open the public hearing and ask for anyone wishing to speak on this item to please go ahead and come forward and state your name and address for the record. Okay, I will now close the public hearing. Is there any discussion?
His last name. I forgot the last name. Where you go? Oh, say, were there any citizen complaints?
There was one applicant, a resident, and the statement was too much traffic for such development. So we forwarded that comment to engineering department. City engineer Todd looked at it, and he recommended that there should be some sort of traffic study.
Can you remind us what can be built in high-density residential? What type of structures?
Yeah, when we talk of high density, it's the number of units, but this is a residential purpose. So duplexes and townhomes are what this applicant wants to do.
But
high density apartments can go in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
To answer your question. Okay.
Thank you.
Just for clarification, did you say a TIA is actually
Impact study.
mandated? Yes. They have to do a TIA for this?
That is what city engineer is recommending.
Okay.
So.
Got you. All right. Any further discussion? If not, I'll hear a motion. Okay. We've got a motion.
Second.
And a second. All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. All right. Motion carries 6-0. Agenda item number 14, discuss, conduct a public hearing, and act on an ordinance amending zoning ordinance number 1710 of the City of Paris, Texas, so as to rezone part of Tract 28 in the A208 East Crow survey located in the 4300 block of Pine Mill Road from an agricultural district to a multifamily dwelling district number 2, directing a change accordingly in the official zoning map of the city. Staff, do you have a presentation?
Yes, so this is the same applicant on the same development. This one is the zoning of the process. And so he is requesting it from agriculture, which is the current zoning, and he wants to take it to the MF2. And that is what is before you. The P&Z also recommended approval on this one. Thank you.
I will now open the public hearing and ask for anyone wishing to speak about this item to please come forward and state your name and address for the record. All right, seeing none, I will go ahead and close the public hearing. Council, is there any discussion on this item? Any questions? And if not, I'll go ahead and hear a motion.
So moved. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, we got,
Second.
okay, we've got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries 6-0. Agenda item number 15, discuss, conduct a public hearing, and act on an ordinance amending a planned development site plan in the Shigota South Addition, Block A, Lot 2, located in the 3500 block of Clarksville Street in the city of Paris, Texas, to allow construction of carports. Staff.
Yeah, so this plan unit development, at the time of its approval, did not include carports. Previous development type of this plan unit do have carports allowed. And so the applicant is coming in for council to approve or allow carports to be part of so they can put in carports. P&Z last week reviewed this application and recommended approval to this application. Thank you.
I will now open the public hearing and ask for anyone wishing to speak about this item to please come forward, state your name and address for the record. I will now close the public hearing. Is there any other discussion from council?
So, Mr. Osei, was there any complaints on that? And
Yeah.
because this is in actually a residential area, right?
Yeah,
What
PD,
Huh?
plan unit development, yeah, correct.
So, did anyone complain about this?
No,
No.
no, so far, no.
Okay. Oh, I see that lady standing back there.
Applicant, that's the applicant, you want the applicant to talk?
You probably have to open
I can go ahead and open that back up.
Okay.
So that way you're able to speak. So please feel free to come on up.
My name is Susan Bishop. I live in the Shakota Foundation Apartments at 3540, apartment number 1. And Wayne Brown filled out the paperwork, and there's already one carport there, and they all have to be identical. And they did approve it last time, so I hope y'all approve it this time. We've been waiting since like March.
Yeah. Oh, I don't have any problems with it. I was just trying to see if
Yeah.
there was any complaints.
And
I think it'd be
there-
a great addition.
You know, we didn't have to do that thing where you have to get approval from other neighbors because we're all kind of just in a little area there.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Appreciate you.
All right.
And I was trying to kill time because you talked to me bad.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna wait for a final vote, but if anyone would like to make a motion on this topic while Ms. Moore reconvenes.
I'll make the motion that we approve.
Second.
Okay. We've got a motion and second. We'll pause for just a moment here.
You want to close the public hearing?
Oh, yeah, I'll go ahead and close that public hearing also. Thank you for speaking, ma'am. Ms. Moore, just to catch up on this item, we've got a motion and a second to go ahead and approve this carport discussion. So we got a motion and a second. Is there any other further discussion? If not, then we'll go ahead and take a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0. All right, agenda item number 16. Discuss, conduct a public hearing and act on an ordinance amending zoning ordinance number 1710 of the City of Paris, Texas, as heretofore amended Section 8, use of land and buildings, to provide a definition for community garden and to designate zoning districts in which same may be located. Staff.
Yes, so this is a text amendment to the zoning ordinance, and that section has to do with community gardens. Section 8, use of land and building, zoning ordinance 710. And we don't have that specific community garden in the ordinance, and so this is where we want to fix it in and allow community gardens to thrive in the city, in those districts. So that's what is before you. P&Z reviewed it and recommended approval for this application. Thank you.
Fantastic. I will go ahead and open the public hearing and ask for anyone wishing to speak about this item. Please come forward and state your name and address for the record. Okay. I will now close the public hearing. Is there any further discussion?
Where is this?
Mr. Almo-Mensa?
Yes.
I think Mr. Ellis had a quick question.
Where is this? Is there a particular area that you're talking about here?
Yes. So let me see right here, Section 8. Give me a second.
Agricultural and central area and
Yeah.
one other.
So
I
the
think it's
districts,
agricultural neighborhood services and central area, I believe.
yeah. So the districts are agriculture, neighborhood services, and central area zoning districts. These are the areas specifically that they are going to be placed.
Thank you.
And the community garden as defined in the ordinance
Yeah.
that you have before you would be allowed by right in any of those zoning districts.
And the definition she's talking about is that it's a private or a public facility for cultivation of fruits, flowers, vegetables, or ornamental plants by more than one person or family.
Okay.
So what would be an example of central area?
The central area has to do with the downtown district area.
Okay, all right.
This is just amending the ordinance. There's not a current project going on that we're amending it for. Is that correct?
Yes. So it looks as if community garden is a type of, agricultural use type that is unique, just a small thing, not so much big, and not the purpose for agricultural thing, but urban gardening, sort of. So it's kind of unique, and it should have its place. That's why we are putting it in there.
Yes.
Salvation Army has gardens. Is that what you're referencing? Something like that?
Yeah, so it can, like they said, it can be a family or a group. However, it should not be that type of farming that looks too much big, more than what will survive in a urban area. So,
Okay.
good.
Fantastic. Any further questions? Any more discussion? If not, I'll hear a motion.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Motion and a second. Mhm. Yeah, we already closed it. We got a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. All right, motion carries 6-0. All right, agenda item number 17, discuss, conduct a public hearing and act on the ordinance amending zoning ordinance number 1710 of the City of Paris, Texas, as heretofore amend section 10-111, use of parking areas related to parking on vacant lots. Staff, do you have a presentation?
Yes, so this has been an issue within the city. We have had or identified issue with parking of such motor vehicles on vacant lots in the city, and particularly parking on unimproved and unsurfaced vacant lots, which is unsightly as well as disorderly. So we are looking to revise the ordinance to deprive this practice, and also which will prevent the devaluation of these surrounding property lands. And so if you look at section 10.111D, that is prohibiting of certain also large and commercial vehicles in residential districts. It was also adopted prior to, let's say, having a zoning district 4, and we are adding that one also to it to make it complete for all those residential areas. And so that is what is before you. Thank you.
Thank you. I will open up the public hearing and ask for anyone willing to speak about this item to please come forward, state your name and address for the record. All right, I will go ahead and now close the public hearing. Is there any discussion?
Will this go into effect immediately?
It will go into effect because there's a penalty associated with it. It will go into effect after it's published because the law requires that.
I have a question. How is it enforced?
How is it enforced? The police can enforce it, which would typically be who does parking enforcement. Occasionally, code enforcement will do that.
So essentially, this item is really just to help with enforcement of those nuisances of parking, and then also on top of that, to clean up our community and not have vehicles just parked in any which way.
Yeah, it's a kind of loophole that we did not have a grip on in the code, and that's why we are putting it in there, so we have some teeth to it.
So would the penalty go up to having that vehicle towed?
Well, the penalty does not include towing. The penalty could be up to $500 under the ordinance. The ordinance doesn't provide for towing, so we would have to look into that as to how to make that work.
Okay. I was just wondering if you put a fine on them and then they'll wind up going, it's kind of like high weeds and grass, you'll wind up going to court on a municipal court. Okay.
Right.
You bring up a really good point. Is there a like a warning process also? Because I could see how that could escalate very quickly of, hey, I didn't know about this. Is there a fair process to where, hey, you get a letter, please have your vehicle moved? Or
That is not provided for in the ordinance. That is certainly something staff could look at, maybe for the first 6 months or something to do that, but that's not a provision of the ordinance. It's not a code enforcement ordinance, it's a zoning ordinance provision.
I think I would like to see that because, quite frankly, I just don't want a bunch of citizens saying, hey, now that we've got this set, you get a fine, and it's already hard as it is. I think having a little bit of time and warning of this is the new way that things are going to be, have some gap to where you can find a solution to be able to remove that vehicle, maybe just a warning process.
Well, and it may be that code enforcement too can go through and they get a complaint about this, they can contact the owner, whether it's a formal letter procedure or not. Here, this ordinance we've recently passed, and you can't be parking on this unimproved lot.
Yeah, because I know you said it'll be published once passed, but for most people, the publishing is when I get a ticket on my car and saying a warning.
Mm-hmm.
So that's publishing. So I agree with the mayor on that.
Okay. Yeah, we will look into it and address that.
And some
legal.
education as well.
Right, some
we
education.
can use the website and other means we have to, social media, to publicize that.
And something as simple as walking up to the door and saying you might not know the ordinance has been passed, but it has, here's a copy of the ordinance for future reference, so staff can easily do that.
Yeah, because some people don't look at our social media website, so.
Right.
Yeah, I think having that out there would be great. Fantastic. Well, any further discussion on this topic? If not, I'll hear a motion.
So moved.
Right, and, motion and we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0. Thank you, sir. Agenda item number 18, discuss and act on an ordinance establishing school zone speed limits on certain portions of certain streets and highways and public places in the city of Paris, amending traffic school zone speeds in chapter 11.02.005, establishing days and times when school zone speed limits will be in effect. Staff?
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Council. As you may be aware of, prior to the end of this past school year, the Paris, North Lamar, and Chisholm school districts voted to change their instructional week from a 5-day week to a 4-day week. And in doing so, they had to go back and change the start and dismissal times, basically of each campus on each district. So I met with each school district and reviewed the current school speed zones and found that they would not coincide with the new start and dismissal times. So in working with the district, we came up with some new school speed zone times, and we brought that information to the Traffic Commission on July 8th, and they voted unanimously to make recommendations of the changes that we put on the attachment to the agenda sheet tonight. And they also recommended that you create a new school speed zone at the new North Lamar Intermediate School on North Lamar Parkway to reflect the new times too. So we're asking council tonight to make those changes so we can move forward in getting those changes made in the next 2 weeks before school starts.
Okay. Council, is there any discussion or questions? If not, I'll hear a motion.
So moved.
Okay, got a motion and a
Second.
second. Motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.
At this time, I would like to go ahead and move up item number 24. Can I have a motion and a second to move item number 24 up on the agenda?
Moved.
Okay. Motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0. Item number 24, receive a presentation from Nathan Spalding about creating a public improvement district, PID, for the Forest Brook Estate subdivision. Staff, do you have a presentation?
Yes, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Council, we've asked Nathan Spalding to come here this evening. If you recall, on July 2nd, we had a special council meeting where we did have SAMCO and P3, who could be our PID administrator, if this PID is created. Come and create and present a PID presentation to you. It was an awful lot of information. We thought the next logical step would be to bring Nathan Spalding, the developer here, to talk about the PID and his development and how it could benefit the city of Paris. So we're thankful for having Nathan here tonight. He has submitted a PID petition, which will be the topic of a future council meeting. Nathan, please.
Well, good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and Council. My name is Nathan Spalding with Lone Star Plan Developments. I'm the developer for the Forest Brook Plan Development and Forest Brook Estates. It's great to be here with you all tonight following last council meeting where we, as we just heard, a reminder again of the great presentation that was presented by SAMCO and P3 on public improvement districts, the ins and outs of public improvement districts, how PIDs work, and how they can be helpful. And I want to thank you all tonight for the time to speak from a developer perspective, kind of from the practical standpoint with the Forest Brook project as an example of how PIDs can help the growth objectives for Paris and help development become successful within the city. And so just to start off with just a brief history of the Forest Brook project, we always planned within our 200-acre PD to start with single family and get the rooftops going first before we focused our attention to some of the other zoning designations within the PD. And so originally for our Forest Brooks Estates first phase, which is kind of confusing, everything on that document or on that one-page handout you see off of Jefferson Road, that's about just north of 59 acres of single-family, 293 home lots is how it's laid out here. And so the original plan was to have the first phase within that 59 acres, not be within a PID, and to wait and do a PID on phase 2, which is the remaining acreage of that 59 acres. And we got a bunch of pushback from that, not only from our home builders, but lenders, because as we heard last week, how common PIDs are. It's, it could be somewhat of a red flag for home builders and lenders for a PID not to be involved in a sizable master planned community. Because like we heard last week, they are common. It's actually really somewhat uncommon to have a sizable development not have and utilize a PID. So it can be a red flag, but we were able to overcome those concerns from lenders and home builders because back then, the numbers worked, at least for the first phase. And as we look back, it was probably a mistake not to plan for a PID from the very beginning. Because as you'll see here on that one-page handout, the first phase is within the southwest quadrant of that 293 home lots, that single family there in yellow. It's outlined in green. And then the second phase is all the remaining lots outside of that green boundary that's outlined in red. And so the idea was back then to have phase 2 have a PID because phase 2 is much more expensive. There's a lot more costs that go into phase 2 that we really didn't have for phase 1 at the time. But as we look back on that, it's really not the best way to do it. It's really not the fairest way to do it because you'll have phase 1 that won't have an assessment, phase 2 will, but they're all part of the same community. They're all benefiting from the same public improvements. So even taking financial viability out of it, it really probably was not the best way to do it, which was not in any way the city's doing. It was on our end, which we admit to that. And so fast forward to today, prices have skyrocketed, as I'm sure you're familiar with Rapunzel City projects, to where we really need to do a PID, even that's including the first phase, to incorporate the first phase to make this financially viable from the beginning, and we can spread out the assessment for the public improvement benefit to the whole neighborhood. And so, I guess where and how do we apply a PID to this Forest Brook project that's almost over 200 acres? And so the idea is everything that you see on the south portion of the project or the map there that's in yellow, the single family that's outlined in red, is to assess a PID within those boundaries of that 59 acres. And so the reason we would have it kept within that 59 acres is because even though there's single family on the north end, we really want to make sure that this PID goes well and we don't burden these homeowners with other infrastructure within the PD that's not crucial and necessary for this to be a success. We want to be real mindful that we don't overburden the homeowners with a PID that's just too large. And so the PID would be within the boundaries of that 59 acres because it doesn't rely on any infrastructure outside of that 59 acres to be fully developed. And so on top of that, if we were to break it into neighborhood units, it is possible, as I'm sure you'll get counsel from advisors, it is possible to have a PID go over multiple different neighborhood areas. So we have, obviously, you see that neighborhood area on the north that's in yellow that doesn't have lots drawn in yet because it's not fully designed yet. You could have a PID that focuses on the 59 acres on the south and then later the 59 acres or the acreage on the north. And the problem with that is we really want to see how this PID goes and on the 59 acres. And then also we don't know what type of assessment, what value of an assessment to put on those lots on the north portion of the property because we don't have the engineering done. We don't know what the costs are going to be for that. We don't want to miss the mark. We don't want to, put an assessment that's too low and also definitely don't want to put an assessment that's too high, kind of shooting in the dark on what we would need for that northern part of the property. And kind of going back to the presentation we had last council meeting, There's multiple different types of PID bonds. They walked through 3 different types. 2 of them are assessed before any development has started. They're basically construction bonds. And then you have a reimbursement bond, which with a reimbursement bond, the developer writes the checks for all the infrastructure. They develop the property, and then the bonds are sold after the fact. And then the developer is reimbursed to, make the project go from upside down to, in the black, to where it's viable after the fact. And so they spoke on how this is a less risky bond proposition, doing a reimbursement bond. That's what we would propose here. It's less risky for bond investors. And so as we heard from the last presentation, it's not less risky on the city per se, because the city doesn't take on any risk. This is an assessment within the boundaries of the PID. It doesn't impact other property owners in town or anywhere on the city's budget. But it is an easier bond to sell because it's less risky for those investors that would be buying it. And so that's what we would propose for this 59-acre PID within the Forest Brook development. And as I wrap up, I'll just talk from a developer's perspective on why are these PIDs so common really in Texas, as we've been hearing, and similar products in other states. So here, we're talking about PIDs sooner than we anticipated, starting with the first phase also instead of the other phases. But there's a reason they're so common, and even when prices don't skyrocket, and this is a plan from the beginning on a lot of developments. And one is to compete with existing housing inventory. It's very difficult to develop a new property and be able to be for the home builders to be able to be competitive with existing inventory when you're building a master plan community from nothing, from farmland. Because you'll have, when people are looking for homes, they'll go to a realtor a lot of times and they'll say, what's existing inventory out there? And they'll go to the listings and it'll be a solid dollar amount, X amount of what that home is going to cost for them to buy that existing inventory. And the same thing is going to be applicable here within our development, but from a sales office for these home builders. And so they're going to go in, they're not looking at lot prices. We heard a gentleman the other night, I believe was a civil engineer, asking a great question as to, if a individual is going to buy a home lot and then they're going to go find a home builder to build on that lot, if they're already buying the home lot, where does this assessment come in? And it comes in because if without a PID, the lots that we would sell to home builders, we wouldn't sell them to, they're not being sold to home buyers that then go out and find their own home builders and build custom homes. They're sold in dozens of lots at a time to major home builders that have sales offices and sell them. And so home builders can't afford to pay enough for the lot for it to be economically viable for a developer to develop it without a PID in a lot of instances, because they just won't be able to be competitive enough with that existing inventory. And those without a PID, their homes that they could be selling within the neighborhood could be $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 more for a comparable option that's in existing inventory without the PID. And where the PID comes along, it allows that price to be spread over a 30-year amortization, where they're paying maybe 5-6% of what their mortgage would be monthly towards that PID assessment. It makes these developments economically viable for not only home builders to be able to be successful and sell these homes, but for home buyers to be able to purchase them. And then the second reason they're so popular is they allow really for better communities to be built. Depending on the size of a development, it varies in the different types of amenities that can be afforded through a PID. When you have your homes developments that are 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 homes within a development, can have some really substantial amenities, big, huge networks of walking trails, big pool and clubhouses. When you're talking with smaller developments, like we're looking at here, which is a big step for Paris, but in the grand scheme of things, when we look at other PIDs, it's on the smaller end. It still allows us to have a better product. And so something that we're looking at in conjunction with talking with the city on what this would look like is when the PD was previously passed in 2022, we got an allowance to do asphalt streets to try and make the economics of the deal work. And something we could do, for example, with this PID is to switch from asphalt to concrete streets and have a higher end finish within the neighborhood. It also allows for the possibility for a pocket park within the neighborhood, and to take some lots away and incur that cost and have a nice park that everyone in the neighborhood can walk to through the sidewalk network within the development. And other amenities, such as fountains potentially for landscaping that we wouldn't otherwise be able to do. And so that's another major benefit of the PIDs from a development perspective. And then third, kind of from a developer angle, is it's, for all the reasons we've discussed, or I've discussed tonight, it's really necessary for large growth, especially for what Paris is looking for. This is new, I understand, to Paris, but as we heard from last session, it's not new to Texas in any way. It's very uncommon to do a master plan community really without one. And with the housing study that we also heard about and where we're looking to go, I'm excited to be a part of potentially the first PID in Paris to kind of get that experience with PIDs, because, like I said earlier, it really can be a red flag for getting projects financed on the construction side, and then also having home builders come in on such a large scale, a tract home development like this without a PID. And so I feel, just from a developer perspective, once the city gets some experience with this, it's really going to kind of unlock the demand that Paris is looking for housing as far as large tract home developments. Having the experience with a PID will allow future growth and the type of single family density that Paris is looking for. And then finally, the next steps, what's next? And so as far as the Forest Brook project goes, and really with PIDs in general, the first step is the developer presenting a PID petition to council. And so we plan on presenting the PID petition on August 12th. And so what the petition does is basically it starts a statutory clock that has to start ticking for 30 days. And so once that petition is presented, it allows council to consider a PID at least 30 days later. So that would be September 9th. And it does not you can talk with council and advisors, don't take my word for it, but it doesn't bind the council or the city in any way. I could disappear. You could never see me again after passing the PID petition on August 12th, and there would be no repercussions for it. It doesn't take away negotiating power, doesn't bind the city in any way. It just allows you to consider a PID 30 days later. And so that's what we plan to do, is present that PID petition on August 12th, and even before and after doing so, work with the city to discuss drafting and creating a PID that could be presented to council 30 days later for your consideration. And so that's kind of the time frame of next steps, creating the PID petition, which would allow your consideration for a PID after we're able to work with city staff for your consideration at least 30 days later. And with that, I don't have anything else, but I appreciate your time and being able to hear from our perspective with Forest Brook on how PIDs can be helpful and what we need for this project to get back on the rails and be financially viable from the beginning, and start it correctly so the whole entire neighborhood is assessed equally with a PID, and it's in a fair fashion. But with that being said, I appreciate your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions that I'm able to if anyone has any.
Council, any questions for Mr. Spalding?
Not necessarily Mr. Spalding, but to Interim City Manager Vine. What is the risk to the city to create a PID in a project such as his?
There is no risk. If in the presentation that was given earlier this month,
yeah.
If a PID does go out and the bonds are sold, and for some reason you default, the city is not held liable for that.
Okay, so it's no cost to the city at the end of the day.
Correct. And what
even if it goes through.
Yes, yes. So, and what we will do is we will bring in our consultants, Mark McCliney and P3, and to answer those difficult questions. And that's why we want to take this slow, because it is new to Paris, and it does have a lot of perception that there are issues or could be issues with the city if it doesn't go through. The developer wants to see this work. We want to see this work. So both of us will do our best to make sure that this does work without putting the other in jeopardy or dragging the other down.
Okay, because that was my stance when I was looking through this, is that, we need to go slow on this and not
Yes.
jump into something.
Yes.
Thank you.
Agreed. And just for council, I'm sorry, if you have a question, go ahead. I was going to give our next steps. Go ahead.
Haven't seen all the details of the project, but mine is always just, I want you to be able to sell the houses. What is the average price, are you thinking of, or the range of prices of the 293 homes? Have you gotten that far as far as?
Sure, yes. So, thank you. That's a great question. And so, from our entity as a developer, some developers also go vertical, especially with multifamily or commercial. But a lot of single-family developers, like our company, doesn't do the home building. And so, like I mentioned earlier, referencing home builders, we develop the infrastructure, develop the lots, and sell those lots in large quantities to home builders. And so it's kind of difficult to know exactly where they're going to land with their home prices. But they're one of the home builders is a large regional builder in North Texas that has a sister company in West Texas. It's called Beaton Bow Homes, and they really specialize in starter homes between the 1,400 square feet and 2,400 square feet homes. And then we have D.R. Horton that's purchasing the rest of the models that have, or rest of the lots that have a larger variety of floor plans. They have 2-story homes and some larger plans, and so it's difficult to know exactly what they're going to land on with their home prices, depending on how big the home is, obviously. But we're expecting them to be really competitive in the mid to high 200s.
Okay.
But it's I hate giving expectations and then those not happening just right, because we're not in control of that. But we're expecting them to be really competitive and put some great homes.
Well, it's
inventory here.
great that it's coming at the time that we just did the housing study to know really what the need is for Paris, and looking at our socioeconomics and what this area will support. I just, we want to see it through to the end and not see undeveloped areas. So, thanks.
Absolutely. We're excited to be a part of the housing solution here and create a great community over there. And just one last note from previous question. The city does not, so there's P3 and then Samco. All the costs that go into analyzing the PID, all your council's costs with P3, the developer bears that cost. And so it's not going to be something that's draining the finances of the city. We bear the cost of all your due diligence and all your expenses associated with managing the PID. And then the cost ultimately goes on that homeowner on that 30-year amortization for it to pay the PIDs back, the bonds back.
Thank you.
I have a question. So in the first phase, is it certain size homes will be built in the first phase, or will the homes all be the same size, or will they be different sizes?
Oh no, it will be. That's a great question too. It'll be a mix of home sizes, and so there'll be a variety of different sizes, and the lots vary somewhat in different sizes as well. And so obviously the larger homes will go on the larger lots, but from the home builder's perspective, they will have a certain number of homes that they call spec homes that they will build without a buyer in mind, that they'll go ahead and put on the ground and for someone to walk in the door and say, I want to buy a home as soon as possible. And then they'll also let home buyers come into their sales office, pick the floor plan that they want and the different cabinet colors and tiling that they want, and be able to build the exact home that they're looking for from their product line.
Last question. Where's the tax revenue going for schools? Is it Chisholm or Paris, or
This
do we
is
know?
within, the development's within Paris.
It's all Paris. Okay.
Mr. Vaughn?
Yes, the next steps for staff will be the city team, which would be staff, and we would like to bring 3 council members. I'm assuming Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and another council member, along with the meetings where we meet with our consultants, Samco and P3, again, where we ask those tough questions. And we might ask them again to make sure we get the same response. And then, as Nathan said, we'll come back August 12th, and we will present that PID petition. That does not state that the city is required to do anything, just saying that we would consider a PID. There could also be a dissolution clause in there that if nothing happens, it just goes away. During that time, between now and the time that we come back to create the PID, staff and Nathan's team will create and negotiate a plan development, or development plan. A development agreement, where we negotiate, we want concrete streets, we want to add a park. He's offered to make sidewalks instead of 4 feet, 5 feet. So there will be added things in this neighborhood which set it apart from other neighborhoods. All of those will go into the plan development, or development agreement, excuse me.
I would like to be the third person.
Okay. Ms. Putnam, did you?
Oh, I was going to volunteer too, but should talk. That's okay.
Mr. Spalding, I just wanted to say in closing, thank you for your investment to our community. We really need this. As you saw last time during the housing study presentation, this is huge. And what you're doing and in your investment and time and efforts are monumental for this community to grow. So we really appreciate you and looking forward. I think we all look forward to working with you and seeing your plans grow.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm really proud to be, a small part of Paris's goal to foster more growth, especially with how successful Paris has been and bringing in so much industry and so much growth. We're really excited to be a part of the housing solution here and creating a neighborhood that everyone's going to be proud of. And so I really appreciate all of your time in considering our development and being a part of it, and look forward to echo the same thing. I appreciate all your time and look forward to future success there.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 19, receive presentation from the city attorney about the role and the authority of the governing body, whole and individually, as written in the city code and charter. Ms. Harris, do you have a presentation?
I do. Mr. Dabbs is the remote. Thank you. I do have a PowerPoint for you. While we're getting that ready, this is going to be, and I apologize, I'm having trouble with my voice this evening, but this is going to be fairly short because our source material is fairly small, giving rise to the duties and limitations on council members. So what do I do to make it change?
Goes forward and not goes back.
Look at that. Okay, so I'm learning the technology as I go. So our source for your duties and authorities is the city charter. The charter provides that Paris has a council manager form of government. If you look at that section 2 from the charter, it says all powers of the city shall be vested in an elective council, which shall enact local legislation, adopt budgets, determine policies, and employ the city manager, who shall execute the laws and administer the government of the city. So basically, you can think of it this way. The council is responsible for making policy and laws, and the city manager is responsible for carrying out that policy through the operations of the city. Article 3 is the main source of your powers and duties. You will see there's a laundry list here. This council has the authority and the duty to elect the mayor and the mayor pro tem from among its members. If there's a single vacancy on the council, the city council will fill that, is the process we've just been through. If there's more than one vacancy, that requires a special election. The council has the power to appoint and remove the city manager, appoint the city judge, appoint the city attorney, remove both of those as well. Judge the qualifications of its members, determine its own rules of procedure.
What is that section, section 28, what does that mean, judge the qualifications of its members?
You can determine based on what the statutory requirements are and the charter requirements, you can deem whether or not that person actually fulfills those.
So if somebody's
requirements.
elected, the council that's here can say they don't qualify?
Well, typically what's going to happen is they are going to file to run for the seat, and your city clerk, as she does, will determine whether or not they meet those criteria. So that's before they can even get on the ballot. Let's see. You may conduct investigations into the conduct of any office, department, agency, or officer of the city, or as to municipal affairs. You designate the CPA to conduct the yearly independent audits. You can establish and maintain a library, which you have done and do. Create a housing authority, which you have done. Provide for disabled employees pensions and insurance, which you do. Section 19 is the enumerated powers. There are several of them. You appoint and remove the city manager, establish administrative departments, adopt the budget, authorize the issuance of bonds by bond ordinance, inquire into the conduct of any office, department, or agency of the city, and make investigations as to municipal affairs. I'm sorry. Adopt, modify, and carry out plans. 9 and 10 have to do with P&Z, and you're working in conjunction with the P&Z that you have created and appoint the members to. Number 11 has to do with regulating vehicles for hire. Number 12 is basically boils down to you can adopt fire and building codes and ordinances for dealing with condemnations of dangerous structures or buildings or dilapidated buildings, which you've done through an ordinance that created the Building Standards Commission. There are some limitations on your powers. In section 21, it's very clear that neither the council nor any of its members shall direct the city manager or any of his or her subordinates in the appointment or removal of any city employee. Although you do have the authority and the power to approve of appointments to department head level. The council and its members shall deal with city employees solely through the city manager, except for purposes of inquiry. If you've got a question of the utilities director, by all means, call up and ask the utilities director your question, but you can't be directing the employees to do things. It shall be grounds for removal from office if, following investigation by and a hearing before council, a council member is found guilty of multiple willful violations of this section. So that language is shall not, it's not questionable, it is mandatory language about not interfering with staff appointments or removals or dealing directly with city employees. Then we have some additional limitations on members. If you'll note that all of these provisions we've been talking about talk about the powers and duties of the city council. That's the city council as a body, not individual council members. So that direction to any of your direct appointees, the city manager, city attorney, or city judge, by an individual council, and I'm not talking, let's discuss something I'd like to see us do. Let's have a discussion about that. That's a little bit distinct from I'm ordering you to do something. It is beyond your prerogative as an individual council member to order the city manager, the city attorney, or the city judge to do anything. The direction to these appointees is to be from the entire council, and that needs to be done by a majority vote at a duly posted public meeting. Specific to the city attorney, it's important to know that the city attorney's code of ethics provides that the city attorney represents the entity, the organization of the city of Paris. I don't even represent the city council per se. I report to the city council, but I don't represent the council. I represent the entire organization. And that has some ethical implications to it. One is if I find, or any city attorney finds, that the governing body is taking steps that detrimental to the organization legally, the city attorney has some ethical obligations to take remedial action. And that could be appointing another attorney to look into it. There are different things represented on this slide that are potential remedial actions. Because the city attorney represents the entity and is directed by the entire council, it is inappropriate to call the city attorney and ask that your conversation be confidential from the other city council members. The city attorney can't do that because the city attorney doesn't represent the individual council member. That's not the client. The client's the entity. This is a little out of order because now that I know how to push the buttons, I didn't get them in the right order to begin with. You do have a duty to attend the meetings. This was included in the last charter amendments in 2022. You are required to attend at least 75% of the meetings in any year of your term of office unless otherwise excused by the remaining members, with a year being measured from the first meeting in May to the last meeting in April. And no, I haven't done the math as to how many meetings that is.
How do you get it excused?
I think you would come to your, and if you'll remember, we didn't talk about putting that in the charter exactly. I think that came up when we were talking about that amendment. But I think what you as a council can do is come up with a procedure for requiring, or for asking for that being excused. Because the council is in charge of its own rules of procedure.
And for that to be excused, there would probably have to be an item on the council, at the meeting?
That would be a good way to do that because you're acting as a body.
Right, okay, thank you.
Okay, back kind of in the order of what we were talking about. There are some special considerations with respect to the municipal judge because he is a judicial official. It is inappropriate for council to try to give direction to the judge about any of his judicial duties. And that means you can't tell him how to decide a case. You can't tell him how he should be conducting his court. You can't tell him how to manage his docket because those are all core judicial functions, and his code of ethics prohibit him from being directed that way. He is also a department head, so in that respect, you have the ability to approve his budgets and deal with purely administrative kinds of things. We have 2 officers on our council in our charter, and that's governed by Section 14. And as you know, you, as a body, elect your mayor and your mayor pro tem at that first meeting after the election in May. The mayor and the mayor pro tem shall serve at the pleasure of the council. So that means, God forbid, that if a majority of the council is displeased with the conduct of the mayor or the mayor pro tem, the council could remove the mayor or the mayor pro tem and elect somebody else. So to my knowledge, that has never happened And, you know, if we're all living right, it never will. The charter provides some guidance as to what the duties and authorities of the mayor are. There's not much mentioned about the mayor pro tem because the mayor pro tem's job is to step in when the mayor is unavailable. So when the mayor pro tem steps in, then his duties are the same as what the mayor's are. Section 17 provides the duties of the mayor. She'll provide at meetings. The mayor is the head of the city government for all ceremonial purposes and for purposes of martial law, and hopefully that never comes up. The mayor votes just the same as any other council member, and the mayor pro tem acts during the absence or disability of the mayor. And if a vacancy should occur, shall become mayor until the next regular election. There are a couple of statutory duties that the mayor is required to fulfill. The mayor is the head of emergency management for the city, and the mayor appoints members to the board of directors for the housing authority. That's really pretty much it in terms of duties and powers of the mayor. Historically, mayors and mayors pro tem have provided a leadership role on the council, and from time to time will propose policy initiatives for the consideration of the remainder of the council, but any one of you can propose a policy initiative for discussion with the rest of the council. So that's not unique to the mayor, but that's something that mayors have done sometimes more than other members of the council, but that's completely up to you guys. So really the authority of the mayor as an officer is fairly limited. We do have an ordinance in its section 2.02.001 that is the rules of order for council meetings. I didn't put everything on a slide. I did send it to you by email so that you would have a copy of it for reference. It basically talks about how you're going to run meetings. Because the council is the determinant of the rules of procedure for the council, anytime you could put on the agenda to amend this ordinance, to amend your rules. That's completely up to the council. And that's all I have. Like I say, there's not a whole lot to say because the source material is very limited, but I'll be happy to take any questions you might have.
I appreciate you doing this. It was very informative, I believe, and very thorough, so appreciate you for doing it. It's very needed as well.
Well, thank you, and if anyone ever has any questions, certainly call me and I'll be happy to address those questions.
Thank you so much. Right, so we will now move on to agenda item number 20, discuss and possibly act on an ordinance, amending ordinance number 2019-045 to enlarge the Board of Directors of Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone number 1 from 5 to 7 directors. Staff, do you have a presentation?
Were you going to do that? Okay.
Mayor and Mayor Pro Tem Council. So the last meeting that the TES board met, they discussed this issue and realized that it would be better for the enlargement of the number of members on the board. In that way, it will give the community a much more expandable coverage representation on the board, and that is what is before you today. So they want to move it from 5 to 7.
And I believe that was unanimously recommended by the TERS board because the number of directors was set in the creating ordinance. We just have to amend that ordinance, and you have an ordinance in front of you that does that.
Correct.
Okay. Is there any discussion or any questions
So I have a question. Can I get a little more clarification on why do y'all think that it needs to be more?
I think the idea is to kind of expand the talent pool available to make these decisions, and because potentially, I mean, there's not a ton of money in the fund right now, but potentially you're doing things like talking about issuing bonds, and there may be, at some point there is going to be money there, and the idea of having more people there to make those important spending decisions. And another thing, I don't know that it was necessarily brought up at the meeting, but most of our very important commissions are 7 members: planning and zoning, building standards, PDC are 7 members, and this would make it the TERS board consistent with that.
I'll piggyback off that also. This is a really interesting board, which is, it's awesome that we have a TERS board. That gives a lot of input from our citizens to be able to have that, that opportunity to be able to decide, hey, how are we going to spend this money, and how are we going to legislate this finance, this money. So I think that this brings up a really great opportunity for our community to see this, but also, since this is a new process for all of us, I believe this is the first TERS we've ever had in this city.
It is.
Isn't it? Okay. So it's been a hot topic, and there have been some great folks that are qualified that I think, which we've seen all their resumes and whatnot as we've gone ahead and appointed them. This would be a fantastic opportunity, I believe, to have an addition. Now, as it sits currently, there are 5 members, and 2 of them are from the staff, city staff, that are appointed by the city manager previously, and then the 3 are appointed from council, from the community. And so that's 5 in total, and I know we're going to discuss that in the next agenda item too, but at this time, I was really heavily leaning towards 5 in the beginning, but seeing the opportunity that we have with such talent that have applied, I see no reason for that 7. And also the other thing that crossed my mind a long time ago is this is some dense material to have to go through. But seeing the qualifications of those and the interest of those that have applied, I think that we wouldn't really have much of an issue.
Statutorily, the bare minimum number of members of the board of directors is 5. So we're sitting at the bare minimum. You can go up to 15, which I can't even imagine a 15-member board and how long those board meetings might take. But 7, again, is a good number, and it makes it consistent with our other boards and commissions.
Well, it's no secret that I'm against raising it to 7. For a few reasons. One, right now, this is the hot item. I mean, there's potential money coming in, and it's really the hot item right now. But we have several boards and commissions that we had to go back and reapply or repost to try to get more people on. So now we're increasing this, possibly increasing this to 7. Well, then when it's not so hot, then that's going to be another board that we might find difficult getting people to volunteer for. And the other point to it, if we have people who are really willing to volunteer for our boards, and if we keep it to 5, that's 2 interested people that could go to some of these other boards that we're coming short on. We have another board that's really a hot item right now, and it has 5 members. I would like to increase it to 7, and that's a mayor point, but we have a lot of candidates that are really qualified that he might have to cut. But that's part of the deal. That's just what you have. And then the other thing that I was thinking about is I agree with having more just regular citizens, business owners on this board. So I think we're going to increase that by maybe possibly 2 eventually. And I think the next item will take care of that if it's passed. But I do agree with having 5 community members on there rather than staff. But I'm not necessarily in agreement with going up to 7.
I feel strongly that we should move to 7, just based on what Stephanie said as far as the more information-heavy boards need more attention and more conversation about what needs to happen with the tax dollars. I think this board's going to work really closely with the PEDC. It's all about the opportunities that Paris has going forward. It's very dense material, as the mayor has said. There's opportunities in our future to make multiple tours, which I'd like to see, because that means we're growing. And the more people we have educated about this subject, the better we will fare. So I'm in favor of it.
Any further discussion? Anyone?
Well, I just want to make the point that this board is like all other boards. I get the feeling that people don't realize this, but this board only makes recommendations. The final decision is by this board, this council. So if you put 10 on there, 15 that's allowed, it still has to come through this 7-member council.
Anyone else? Any other thoughts? And if not, I'll hear a motion.
I make a motion to increase the TERS board from 5 to 7 members.
Okay. We got a motion.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed say no.
No.
Okay, motion carries 5-1. All right, we will now go to agenda item number 21, discuss and possibly act on a resolution approving a change in the bylaws of Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone Number 1 to provide for the enlargement of the Board of Directors from 5 to 7 and to remove the requirement that the board include 2 staff directors.
Yeah, so this is also a follow-up of the same amendment, and there's a section that continues that the board shall include 2 staff members of directors, and this is the portion that we want to take out of the bylaws, and that is what is before you today.
And to be clear, it's not a prohibition, it's just a removal of the requirement.
Mm-hmm.
Now, just for clarification purposes on this item, Interim City Manager Rob Vine, you've now resigned off of that board, correct?
Correct. It's waiting for approval from the board, but it has been submitted, yes.
There we go. So there's that, and so that's one seat we'd get back for a community member, and then I believe Chief McMonagle.
He wishes to maintain or continue to serve for the rest of his time.
Okay. So he would stay on until his term ends. So that way, that at least provides some clarity for the decisions that we'd have to make in the future agenda items coming up. So any further discussion on this topic? Any sentiment?
Yes, I need clarification again.
Yes.
Can you just give me some clarification on why remove staff?
Why to remove them?
Yes.
Perhaps the mayor and Councilmember Putnam can better address that, because that's an issue they spoke about at the TERS board meeting.
Yes, I'd love to talk about that. We've had a lot of citizens interested in TERS, but I've noticed that the first question I get asked is, hey, why is staff on here, right? And especially being, 2 of the 5. So optics matter, and I believe that, instilling that trust within our community is a positive thing. But in all transparency, no matter how you boil it, when you have 2 city staff on a board with community members that are appointed by the city manager, that can get a little hairy. And we have a great relationship with our city staff. I'm not denying, I'm not saying anything bad, but for those folks that are out in the community, they may think, well, hey, what's going on here? Why do we have staff on it? It just muddies the water quite a bit, and so this would clean that up. I believe, if I'm if I'm not mistaken, I don't think we have any other boards or commissions or anything like that within our community that has other staff members on there. Now, it doesn't mean that they can't be on there or they can't apply for it, but I don't believe that we have anything that mandates staff to be on another
So was
board.
it an issue while staff was on?
Well, I can tell you why staff was on it, is because this was the first one we ever did, and the consultant recommended it, and what did we know? So we said, sure, and council approved it, and here we are.
Yeah, since it's such a hot topic and it's become such a big talking point, it's kind of one of those things that would maybe clear the air a little bit more and give those voting positions that right from the community as opposed from city staff.
And they're not being removed. The requirement to have them on the board is just being removed.
Right, correct, right.
Yes.
And again, we still take heavy consideration, or the TERS board will use staff recommendations for whatever they do, as we do as well. So it's always a partnership. But just that mandate is alleviated.
And it allows for, I mean, of course, I wasn't for the 7, with the 5, but it allows more stakeholders, right, to be on the board.
Exactly. Exactly.
Thanks.
Any further discussion? That was a good question, though. Okay, well, if not, then happy to hear a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we got a motion.
I'll second.
We got a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. All right, motion carries 6-0. Agenda item number 22, discuss and make appointments to the various boards and commissions. Staff, do you have a presentation?
Yes, we do. The first thing we need to do is clean up 2 items from our meeting last time. And that is, the night of the last meeting, I announced that Larry Walker and Stacy Liddell were the 2 applicants receiving the most points on planning and zoning. The next day, we were reviewing all of the board appointments and realized that it was actually Larry Walker and Adam Bolton were the 2 had received the most points. Immediately called City Council and Mr. Liddell and Mr. Bolton. So I'd like to see if you all would give us a motion rescinding Mr. Liddell's appointment and making the appointment of Adam Bolton to the planning and zoning.
Okay, Ms. Ellis, thank you so much. I'll hear a motion from what Ms. Ellis just presented. Sure. Okay, we got a motion from Mickey.
Second.
We got a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, those opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. We've got one more. Okay. Plug Clem had applied for several boards. We actually appointed him to 2 boards. One was the Traffic Commission and one was the Board of Adjustment. His preference is the Board of Adjustment. So we would like to ask you all to rescind the appointment of Plug Clem from the Traffic Commission.
All right, I'll hear a motion. Move. Okay, we got a motion in a second.
Okay.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, those opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0. All right, and then now if we can go ahead and proceed with the remainder of the appointments, what I would like to do to make the appointment process a lot easier, if you'll bear with me for just a moment as I pull up my notes here, I'd like to go ahead and start off with the Housing Authority appointments that the mayor has to make. And I would like to go ahead and appoint Stacy Liddell, Joseph Nelms, Jenny Wilson, and that would be the 3 community members, and then the resident that we'd have to appoint is Bill Harmon. And so that should make it a lot easier. That way, Mr. Liddell is already seated on board.
Yes, thank you.
No problem. All right.
Okay, next is the Band Commission. And re-advertising did help us. There is 1 vacancy and 2 applicants. And I'm going to pass out the ballots. doze off after sitting in that chair.
That this is just a reminder, the higher number, like let's just say if there's two candidates, your number one position that you want to appoint, they're gonna get the 2, and then the person that, you would say, hey, should go second, gets 1.
Thanks for the reminder.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
So, quick question while accounting.
Yes.
For commissions, you're only on 1, you're not allowed to be on 2, period, whether that's housing or whatever. So Stacy Liddell is now.
He'd be eliminated from all the others. Yeah. I think the only exception is HPC and Main Street. There's a liaison that sits on Main Street that also sits on HPC. Yeah.
It's pretty chilly. Down there, right? It's got a little heater.
Do you get cold messy?
I'm freezing.
I get cold.
I'm freezing and I'm okay.
Are we cutting this line? Okay, I was just wondering.
Basically, I think we have 5.
Yeah, we got enough.
We're waiting on Mr. Ellis.
We're just waiting on Mickey real quick. Oh. All right, Miss Ellis.
Okay. We have a tie. Both of them have this. So the only thing that I can offer or to tell you is that Mr. Myrick is currently on the band commission. So you all are going to just have to make a motion and vote. Unless y'all have any other suggestions.
Anyone have a?
I make the motion that we put Mr. Myrick back on the band commission.
Okay.
A second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. All right.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Myrick's on. It's a riveting one.
I know. It's crazy. Okay. Our next one is building and standards. And let me mark Stacy off of here first. Two openings. And I think they're both alternate positions, but there are 2 vacancies.
ESC
Yes.
doesn't have alternates, does it?
Okay, then it's not, that's the next board. This is, yes, that's right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Janice. Okay, but this more about. So just, it will be, hang on. For their spot.
A couple of them, I think they're pretty, yeah, I don't think they mind as well. Yeah. See that down.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Hey, that's okay.
I'm confused. I probably messed up the 1, 2, 3, 4. Lord have mercy. Was she, did she get them?
I think she was yours.
She, oh, yeah. Janice. You listen. I hope I did it right. I don't like doing this. You thank God would forgive me if I'm just kidding.
He's an understanding God.
Mercy.
Just a groundbreaking when it started. I think it started like 3 years ago. It's a long process. And finally moving dirt.
He's Pastor Savage.
Gary, you call me Pastor.
Yes, I do.
Call me Mickey.
You're Pastor.
Call me Gary.
You're Pastor.
Actually, she says, hey,
He's
Gary.
a pastor. He thank God
Mickey,
to
your
forgive me.
words, Mickey, your words sure are big there.
He thank God to forgive me. I fast. I don't supposed to eat after 8. I'm on a fast.
That's on you. That's on you. Don't put God in there.
I'm fasting.
Sometimes, most of the time I don't. Now, I used to, but now I don't. Well, I use 18 when I'm, well, no, I use 16.
Do you?
Yeah, 16.
I'll go as high as about 22. And I don't know what I'll do.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, you wasn't no help, Pastor. You wasn't any help, Pastor. He did help me out it out.
I made the mistake. I said I drink a lot of water. Yeah. I said I wasn't gonna eat before. I was gonna go after. Shoot, that was a mistake. I should have already eaten. What time did Catfish Kings close?
Are they open on Monday?
Oh my goodness. Where else can you get fish today?
Right around 30.
Thinking I messed up on my voting. I know I did.
I saw those coming here. I feel like I do with this. It's going around. It's got this gun.
Yeah, not open. Where can I go get some good fish?
Okay.
Catfish King.
Your,
Just
your
found
top
out.
2 with the highest points are tied, so they're both going to be on the board, and that's Chris Dukes and Alexander Moore. Just need a motion.
So moved.
We got a motion and Mickey at second.
Okay.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no.
That's the Mickey.
All right. Motion carries 6-0.
Okay. Okay, next is the Historic Preservation Commission. You all give me just a minute to mark through.
How many vacancies?
There are 6 vacancies on this commission, and we're going to remove Chris from the application.
So there's 6, and 2 of which are alternates.
That's right.
On HPC?
Mm-hmm.
There's alternates on HPC?
Yes.
Okay.
And this board is, if you all remember, Glee Emmett got up and spoke. There is a provision that one person that serves on Main Street should be serving on HPC. She is a person that has applied. There is Harley Draven has also applied. And I don't see her on, scratch that, I don't see her on the HPC application. So we'd ask that you consider giving Lee Emmett, placing her in order to keep with the ordinance. It's one of the, in fact, it's probably the only board that has a dual membership for HPC and Main Street. Thank you. So it'll be 7 points for your eyes. It's another one of those. Thank you all. We're getting close to being finished. Thank you.
Do it anyway, so do you take your tax up front or does it pass?
You know, right before COVID, we had 60. You know, we got a small church, but it was growing. Then after COVID, if we get 45, we're doing good.
Yeah.
Are you part of Ministerial Alliance?
No.
Sounds good. Are they really going to do that?
Okay. There are 6 vacancies. You're going to have Roxanne Hadley as an alternate and Ryan Matthews serving in an unexpired term. And then Matthew Coyle, Glee Emmett, Linda Knox, and Kelsey Turk serving in regular positions. Motion?
Make the motion that we approve.
All right. We got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. Okay. Let me just double check.
I think.
I'm double checking the
Oh,
next
yeah.
group because I want to make sure we get them all.
I believe you said Roxanne Hadley and Jeremy Wilson on that last one, correct? They were seated on that last.
Let's double check.
Just so that way that could
I just
easily
want to
check
make
off.
sure. On the HPC,
Mhm.
yes, Roxanne Hadley, so we can take her off of Main Street.
And it was, did I hear Jeremy Wilson somewhere in there?
I'm looking.
Okay.
No, he was on one of the other ballots, but he didn't get selected.
Okay.
It's Sequoia Bruce. Okay. Thank y'all for helping us watch.
Oh, no problem.
Promise we're getting closer. Thank you. Okay, on Main Street, the person receiving the most points is Kevin Moore. We just need a motion.
Moved.
Motion and a second.
Okay.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0.
Okay, there was another. Okay, we've already gone over planning and zoning.
I think we just have TERS and
Yes,
Traffic
TERS.
Commission.
That's correct. Okay, Chris Dukes, we mark him off. And let me double check on building and standards. Okay, we mark Matt Cole off. I'm marking Matthew Cole and Chris Dukes off. There's actually going to be 3 vacancies on TERS. Very well.
So,
Because y'all increased the number.
Yes.
And so Rob went
Yep,
off.
but has Rob officially
Yes,
resigned?
he
yet?
is, and he has. I have
Okay.
his letter.
Okay, all right.
We don't have to approve anything for him, correct? He just sent in his resignation.
I mean, the TERS board will accept it, but there's no reason for you not to go ahead and
All
appoint
right.
somebody.
Okay.
One of these need to be a 3.
Oh,
Sorry. It's okay. Or whatever you want. This one? Okay. Thank you.
there. Sorry.
Okay. On the TERS board, the 2 that will serve in the full terms are Dylan Cecil and Miles Matthew, and those terms will end in 2026. And then Pam Norwood will fill the unexpired term of Rob Vaughn, which ends in 2025. That keeps the board staggered.
Do we have?
It's just a
Oh, yeah, we
motion.
need to make a motion, yes.
Make a motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, those opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0. No, we just have the
Okay.
Traffic Commission, correct?
Yes. And there are 4 vacancies, 1 person left, and so it's Jeremy Wilson. The other lady was appointed, so if you all would appoint Jeremy, and then we'll continue advertising.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, those opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0.
Okay.
Would it be possible that we reach out to those that weren't seated on any of these?
Yes,
Maybe
that-
they might be,
That's actually what we did this last time, plus re-advertise. But we'll just keep working on it. I understand that there's several on the Traffic Commission that said that they would reapply. They haven't. and talking to Assistant Chief Tuttle, so I will personally reach out to them, and Scholar will as well.
Perfect.
And I think we have the Board of Adjustment.
I think that's our next agenda item. So agenda item number 23, discuss and act on resolution appointing members to the Board of Adjustment.
And I don't think we have anybody left.
All those have been appointed.
Yeah, they all got taken, so we will continue to advertise for BOA as well. There's 2 alternate positions, and we will continue to advertise for traffic.
All right. Well, then we will move on to agenda item number 24, consider and approve future events for the city council and/or city staff pursuant to resolution number 2004-081.
Well, just for clarification, that should be item 25 because 24, we moved up with the Nathan
That's
Spalding.
right.
That's right. So we'll mark that on the minutes as a 25, sorry.
So I don't know how to address this, if we need to discuss it as council or if we can just meet and talk about this, but it's it's code violation, but it's also a traffic hazard, and that's on corner lots where you're at an intersection, and in some places you have grass that's 6 to 8 feet tall. I've sent some to code here lately. And the reason I'm bringing this up, because I did attend a hearing, municipal court hearing, where a lady was getting, probably gonna get fined for 18 inches of grass on lots, but then we see these lots all over Paris that, 6 to 8 feet tall grass, and I'm not exaggerating, and it's hard to look out. I'm surprised we hadn't had accidents yet, and the city has came and taken care of some of them, but I don't know if we need to discuss that, because I have a lot of complaints on that issue alone. So, I don't know how to proceed with that, but.
I would just make a recommendation that you continue to forward that to code enforcement, case by case. I think that's an easy way to address that.
Okay, I didn't know if everybody else had, the reason I brought it up here, I didn't know if anybody else had been seeing that same thing, if it's something that we really need to address. You did? Yeah.
I've had quite a few too, and I've just been pushing it forward to code enforcement. So.
Okay.
All right. I had 2 items. So earlier we had a discussion on selecting a search firm to fill that city manager position. I would like to gauge the temperature of council and see what your thoughts are on, one, we still need to get the proposal from SGR, correct, Mr. Vine?
Yes.
So depending on that, I'll be very honest with you, I think this is a urgent matter that we need to move on. The next time we meet is on the 12th, which is another 3 weeks. I would like to see if we can, if council is amenable to potentially having a special meeting to select a firm and just what date would work.
I'll remind you, because I needed to do this anyway, that you have a special meeting scheduled for August 5th anyway, as part of that disannexation item. And the only thing on that agenda, to my knowledge, is the public hearing. A lot of times, nobody even shows up for those. I mean, you never know. But if you wanted to do it on the 5th, we've already got a special meeting scheduled.
With the search firm, I know I talked to Sandy a while back, and she talked about how hard it is to fill finance director position. Is there any interest in adding that to the scope of the search firm?
I think that's probably something you need to discuss, since that particular thing is not on the agenda. That would be something you could discuss at that meeting.
Okay. Well, if we could add that to it and maybe have updated proposals showing both options, I think that would help.
Making sure that we reach out to SGR and Baker Tilly to both include a potential of that also. Okay.
To where we have both options to look at.
Is there a date? Do you guys think that August 5th would be a good date? Do you want to go further and go earlier on the 29th of this month, next Monday, or the 5th of August, which would be that next Monday?
think the 5th would be good.
The 5th?
Because if we
Knock
make
them
it
all
next
out.
Monday, we'll have 2
Yes.
in a row, 3 in a row.
So perfect.
You'd be meeting 4 weeks
4
in a row.
Yeah,
Row.
4 in a row.
It's a lot. So is everyone okay with the 5th? Okay, good. All right. And maybe we can move that on to the 5th, and then I'll just state for the record, I'll be absent on the August 12th meeting. I should be having a meeting out of state, and so just wanted to just let everyone know, so you can excuse my absence and get to preside over the meeting. Just wanted to state that for the record. Anyone else? Okay. All right, well, then we'll move on to agenda item number 25, adjournment. I'll hear a motion.
So moved.
All right, motion and a second. All right, we got a second from Alex.
That was everybody.
We're adjourned.